Are we on?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Hey, folks. Thank you so much for joining our session where we are going to blow your mind and show you just how easy it is to create your own custom Copilot. I'm Kendra Springer. I'm the Principal Group Product Manager for Copilot Studio. And this is my colleague.
Hi, yeah, my name's 𝗬𝗲𝗀𝗻𝗲. I'm a Principal Product Manager on the Copilot Studio team.
Awesome. And so you all, or some of you maybe attended the session yesterday with our VP, 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗸𝗀𝗁, where he really articulated the two main value propositions that Copilot Studio offers you and your organization. The first one is the ability to build and tailor a fully customizable Copilot that can be deployed externally or internally for your employees on a number of different channels. The other value add for Copilot Studio is the ability to extend first-party Microsoft Copilots. And so he talked all about extending Copilot for Microsoft 365, SharePoint, Teams, and a number of others. I believe there was also immediately after that, some of our awesome colleagues did a deep dive into Extend. Today, the session that you're going to see really focuses on building custom Copilots. We're going to touch on some features that have been around for a while that you might be familiar with, but that are still super relevant and powerful. And then we are going to announce a number of really awesome features coming your way. So I real quick just kind of wanted to set the stage, right? Like I wanted to make it real for each of you because you could be sitting there like, wow, this is such awesome technology. But what does it mean for me? What does it mean for my organization? Where could I do this, right? And there truly is a Copilot for every industry. There's a solution that fits every problem, every scenario, every industry, whether it's externally to your customers or internally to your employees. And I want to get one thing straight, right? Just because there's huge value possibilities with custom Copilots, this does not negate the value or opportunity for extending first-party Copilots. Both have immense value for your organization and just different use cases, right? So one of our biggest areas where we see a huge return on value is customer service, right? How are we improving the deflection rate, freeing up those call center agents to deal with more challenging issues, right? This does two things. One, cost savings. Two, higher retention. Your employees are happier. They're not answering the same old, reset my password, right? They feel more fulfilled in their daily work. I'm not going to touch on all of these and really drain the slide because I want to get to the fun part, which is actually the building. But another area where we really see a huge return on investment is data and IT pros, or if kind of that help desk scenario, right? How are you empowering your employees to self-serve and quickly unblock themselves without having to make an appointment with tech support, go to TechLink, etc.? So creating a custom Copilot is super easy, right? You could create and deploy a fully customized, powerful Copilot faster than we're going to get through the content up here. And so a couple of the steps or a couple of the things that we've really made a priority in how we've built Copilot Studio is that we really want to enable you to build and test together. Gone are the days of thinking that you're building these Copilots in a vacuum, right? We understand that you have these fusion teams that have a wide technical spectrum of technical aptitude, right? So we want to enable users to be able to feel empowered and make impact and make exceptional things, whether they're engineers and they want to go full code, or whether they're subject matter experts and they're really looking at ensuring that the answers to the problems that are common within your organization are fully fleshed out and can be supported by Copilot Studio. Second, We've designed personalized and responsive interactions, right? So you're able to engage your end user with rich, dynamic media, videos, images, whatnot, contextual awareness. All of these things we'll get into and talk about in a little bit. You're able to boost your conversation. So this is a hugely powerful feature that allows you to scale the scenarios that your Copilot can handle without having to manually author these topics. We're able to handle complex queries with ease, right? So once we get into authoring that Gary's going to show you a little bit later, you will notice that within the authoring canvas, you can start simple and it's easy. You can also go into highly advanced variable and expression manipulation. You can add speech variations, etc. There's just so much power at your fingertips, and we make it easy and discoverable for you to quickly use and test. And then last but not least, continuous learning and improvement. So currently out of the box, you get a robust set of analytics, and we are improving them. I cannot wait to go through these improvements because I think they're going to be a game changer. And a lot of you who have used Copilot Studio have been asking for some of these features. And in the future, if you saw Omar's session yesterday, we're even taking this a step further with the ability to teach these copilots and let them know, hey, for this situation, if this question gets asked, give this answer, right? So we are continuing to iterate, continuing to invest there. The process of building a Copilot is so simple. Like I said, you could probably do it faster than I could even talk just in my section of this session. But the first step is to create a Copilot. So stand it up. It's a full end-to-end SaaS support, so you don't have to set up any infrastructure. You design the conversation, design what knowledge you want your Copilot to have access to. What are the top scenarios where you can get immediate return on investment for your organization, right? Publish to the different channels. So publish to the places where your customers or employees are engaging every single day, right? And you can publish the same Copilot to multiple channels, right? Because we understand that an organization has many different touch points with the various stakeholders, whether, again, employees or customers. And then you can control and improve, right? So this is that whole monitoring analytics, figuring out where you can improve and how you can make your Copilot better. So over the since Ignite, we've focused on a number of different principles, but I tried to kind of dilute them down into top themes so that you could get insights into how the product team is thinking and how we're prioritizing things. So we wanted to give you a more rapid time to value, right? How do we make it easier to create? Can we give you templates? Can we make creation even easier? Can we make it feel natural and engaging, right? How do we make that faster and better? We also wanted to give you a ton of different maker advancements. We wanted to bring additional capabilities either into the authoring canvas or give you additional abilities to have a wide variety of data or knowledge that you can add to your Copilot and easily manage, right? So we've drastically improved that. And then last but not least, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about how important it is as we are focusing on innovation and advancing these capabilities. How are we doing this in a secure and adhering to compliance, right? So that you can truly trust that the solutions you're developing are safe. And analytics, absolutely, I touched a little bit about that. Analytics hasn't gotten a lot of love for a while for some of you that have been longtime users of the product, and so this is so exciting and I can't wait. I think it's really gonna make a world of difference. I'm not gonna drain this slide. You saw this. Omar did an amazing job kind of articulating this kind of journey of building a Copilot yesterday, but just to touch on the things, the key steps in the process, right, is create, manage, publish, extend, right? That's end to end, that's really what you're doing. So how are you allowing it to chat over knowledge with generative AI? What data sources are you giving it? Create those specific topics where you really need that control for these repeatable scenarios that need to handle that step-by-step workflow every single time. Maybe it's for legal reasons, maybe it's for fill in the blank, right? You can build actions, you can build plugins to easily allow your Copilot to tap into really powerful automation, and you can use our LLM-driven conversation engine to really orchestrate across these in a more fluid and intelligent way. You can also take advantage of these capabilities and this LLM-driven slot filling right inside of topics. Then you go to publish, deploy it on many channels, monitor it, figure out how to improve it, and then iterate and update accordingly. So real quick, for a portion of the demos that we are going to be doing live, we are going to be working with Virgin Money as our customer. And so they are currently using Copilot Studio to power their award-winning virtual assistant, 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗸𝗏, to enhance the self-service and live chat customer experiences. So they've trained and built it directly by the customer journey and customer service experts that have the experience and were able to kind of define what the solution should look like. And 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗏 is connected to a core system and uses natural language understanding to confirm intent. Customers ask questions in their own words, and 𝗦𝗽𝗏 is able to either execute pre-built dialogue flows to complete the service or action in real time, and through searching Dynamics 365 knowledge base to generate an answer, they can provide intelligent answers as well and unblock them, and they can link directly to other digital features in the mobile app or web, or undertake and triage the process to be able to hand the conversation over to the human. So it's been an incredible experience working with them, and you'll see some very powerful quotes up on the screen from them. So let's get into building. So building your own Copilot. I think I've said a handful of times it's easy, so hopefully you're picking up on that theme throughout the conversation. Go ahead and unlock productivity with your Copilot. Build your own AI capability easily. You don't have to be an applied scientist to train a model and figure out how best to do this, right? Safeguard your business and your data all at the same time. And so we're first going to demo. Let me figure out how to, hopefully I'm hitting the right number.
That's
yeah,
the one.
Okay. Awesome. So as I mentioned, one of the investment themes, right, was to make it even easier to get started. So you'll see a super modern and updated UI. And right from the homepage, you can go ahead and type exactly what type of Copilot you want. So I'm going to say we're essentially recreating the 𝗦𝗽𝗏𝗏𝗏 Copilot from Virgin Money that I mentioned first. So I want a Copilot named 𝗦𝗽𝗏𝗏𝗏. It is an assistant for Virgin Money credit card customers. Honestly, sometimes the hardest part about these live demos is the typing part, so bear with me. And helping with common tasks like changing address or checking on the latest transactions. Okay, I'm going to leave that spelling mistake in there just so you can see how powerful it is and how it's able to understand what you wrote. And as you'll see, what it's doing is it's taking the prompt that I just created and it's kicking off this conversational creation experience, right? So it's like, okay, great, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. as it's responding to me and I'm continuing to talk with it to build my Copilot, it's keeping a record on the right-hand side of all of the instructions that I've given it. So is there anything else you'd like to add to the description? Nope, looks pretty good to me. And okay. Basically, now you're able to give it specific instructions about the tone that it should use, right? So let's say I want a playful tone, joyful, customer focused, but definitely professional. And again, you'll see it recording the information on the right. Any websites. I'm going to go ahead and add 2 websites I want to give it access to. Now these are publicly accessible websites. Okay. Make sure I'm good. Okay. Oh no. Let's try again. It wouldn't be a live demo if something didn't go wrong. Do we have the right one? Get help, right? That one? Is there a space in there? Okay. Okay, awesome. So I was able to recognize those 2 websites. Are there any topics or tasks the Copilot shouldn't help with or talk about? Well, we definitely don't want to discuss other brands or finance organizations. Keep it focused on Virgin Money. And we also do not want to give, sorry, I thought I quit Teams. Financial advice to our customers. Awesome. So I think this is the last step. And for those of you too that are like, oh, that conversational creation experience was awesome, but I am, a pro at building this. I really just want to skip and easily fill out a form. We do give you the capability. Let me go ahead and fully quit Teams. Sorry about that. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. To skip to configure and configure in the form-like version. So if I wanted to, I could go ahead and test out this Copilot right here in the creation experience before I create. In the interest of time, though, I'm only going to go ahead and just create it, and we'll start testing a couple of questions just to make sure that it's tapping into the right websites as the grounded knowledge this Copilot is built from. So it's setting up my Copilot. Some things that you'll notice that are different in our new experience. You have the ability to select between the various Copilots that you have made. In here in the left navigation, you can go from home, create your Copilots library, so you can easily go back out at the environment level and do additional things. Once you're inside of your Copilot, you also have an incredibly simple navigation through the various components of your Copilot. So you can go add knowledge, add topics, actions, look at analytics, channels, and then we've really made advancements in this overview page to make it super helpful, actionable, and a good overview of your Copilot. So you'll see Virgin Money Credit Card Assista was created as the name. You can always change that. The description was added. It populated through from the creation experience. You see my instructions, and you also see the 2 knowledge sources that I added through that conversational creation. Okay, so let's go ahead and test this out. Can I use my credit card abroad? If I could spell, it's helpful. And there we go. You can use your credit card abroad without needing to inform the bank beforehand. And so an amazing thing that we've done is really improve citations. So you can see from multiple places where it's pulling this information, merging it, and summarizing it and returning it in a friendly manner that the user can easily understand. What's better is that these conversations can be contextually aware, right? So I can ask a follow-up question. Oh, and this follow-up question doesn't really make sense because it gave me the answer, but that's okay. We're still gonna go because it does show the point. So if it hadn't told me I don't need to inform them, do I need to tell you I'm traveling? Traveling. There we go. And
Okay.
yeah. We're going to move forward because we already know we don't need to tell them we're traveling.
Okay, so in the interest of time, I think what we're going to do is flip over to My Machine, and we'll talk about how we can further extend this Copilot now with additional knowledge and additional actions. So as you saw earlier, the instructions that were generated as part of that conversational creation process have formed a core set of instructions, which you can see. Are we on My Machine?
I believe.
Yes, thank you. Which you can see here just behind me. One of the things that I've actually done now is also extended them a little bit, which I want you to just sort of pay attention to. The last sentence now actually is giving the Copilot some instructions about how it should format information. I've said to format dates in a certain way and to format currency in a certain way. And you'll see how that impacts the runtime behavior of the Copilot in just a little bit. So the other thing that we can do now is, as well as the public websites that we added during the conversational creation, I can go ahead and I can add additional knowledge sources. So as well as the ones that we've supported for some time now, public websites, uploading files, and SharePoint, we've now also made available Dataverse knowledge sources in preview. And also Microsoft Fabric will be coming soon. Now, for Virgin Money, the particular scenario wouldn't necessarily use Dataverse, and so I've just flipped over to a Contoso Copilot. And if I head over to the knowledge page, I want to talk about just how easy it is to actually get this up and running and how quickly it can add capabilities to your Copilot. So I've already actually gone ahead and actually set up one of the knowledge sources, but let's see how quickly I could actually do that. So I just select my Dataverse knowledge source. Now I get a list of all the Dataverse tables that are existing in my environment, and I can select one or more of them. So in this case, I've chosen the account table and the contact table. And then I can even add synonyms or glossary terms in order to make sure that the Copilot has as much information as possible so that it can understand users. If you're using a particular term that's specific to your industry or to your organization, then you can add it here. And then as soon as I go ahead and click Add, that will leave us in this state where I actually have my knowledge source configured. So I can now go ahead and just start to ask questions. So I can say, what accounts do we have in Redmond? That's actually now going to go ahead and search across your Dataverse tables, pull back just the specific rows. It will then use those results along with my question to generate a contextual answer. So you can now start to have search over structured data in your Copilot in minutes. So I can even do what we were showing before, which is those contextual follow-up questions. So I can say, who is the primary contact for power and light? And notice I don't have to type power and light in exactly the same way that it appears inside of my table. It's still going to understand what I'm looking for, and it's going to generate an appropriate answer for me and tell me that the primary contact is Scott Connersman. So that shows you just how simple it is to create dataverse, structured knowledge sources inside of your Copilot and add significant amounts of capabilities. I didn't have to author any of that. Traditionally, you'd have to build up your own sort of Q&A knowledge base, and users, you'd have to anticipate exactly how they were going to ask those questions. So the other thing that we can do, though, now that I'm back in my Virgin Money Copilot, is I can also extend my Copilot with actions. Again, this is about taking advantage of those generative AI capabilities, giving a more natural and fluid experience to the end users, whilst also making your experience as makers as efficient as possible. I've already gone ahead and I've added 2 actions here. Now, actions can be based on connectors, pre-built connectors in the Power Platform. We have over 1,200 of them. Custom connectors wrapping your own APIs, or even Power Automate flows. But ultimately, you can think of it as an API, and then we wrap it in some metadata, a name and a description to allow your Copilot to really understand what that action can do. I've gone ahead and I've added a couple of them for getting recent transactions and getting an account summary. And now, without me needing to author any particular conversation, I can just start asking questions like, when is my payment due, and what's my statement balance? The other thing to notice about the question that I've just asked is it's got multiple intents. Traditionally, I would have had to have built separate what we call topics, which are pieces of conversation, to handle each one of those. And the Copilot would have said, hey, which one did you mean? This one or this one? I can only do one at a time. Now, though, using the power of generative AI, we can actually ask that question. It can go ahead and select the appropriate action. And I'm going to open up what we call our conversation map. And you can see that what it did here, it selected the get account summary based on that description that's associated with the action. It executed that API. It called the results back and then used my question to generate a contextual answer. This is really powerful stuff, because all I had to do was add that action, which took me 30 seconds to my Copilot. And now it can answer hundreds of questions. And we've also just made it possible for all of the actions that you can call inside of Copilot Studio, so connectors, Power Automate flows, etc. You can now use end-user authentication. So you can have it set up to use a maker connection, which is a connection that you will configure at design time, or you can have it using end-user authentication. So we'll actually pass through that authentication if you're in Teams, or you've configured an authentication provider on your Copilot, which now means you can provide those contextual experiences to your end users. OK, so I've added some actions, and my Copilot is immediately more useful. But we did talk about topics before. The idea that we can have individual pieces of conversation that you still have control over. Because one of our core principles at Copilot Studio is to make sure that you have as much control over your conversation as you need. We know it's really incredibly important to you. And it's not necessarily the case that you want to just hand the reins over to generative AI and hope for the best. So we really want to make sure that you can slide anywhere from fully generated all the way through to fully authored. And you should be able to put yourself on that slider wherever you need to. So traditionally, let's just a quick show of hands. How many of you have used Copilot Studio before? How many of you have built topics? OK, so quite a few of you. So those topics, traditionally, you had to choose between, am I going to fully author this experience because I need high control, or am I going to use these actions that are going to use generative AI? Now, though, we've actually updated our topics to give you the ability to get the best of both worlds. So here now, in the topics pane, we're actually making it incredibly simple for you to manage inputs on topics just as you get on actions. So now you can actually just define one or more inputs, what's the data type, here's a description. And so no longer do you have to add a question node for every single piece of information that you want to gather from the user. You can just add them into your inputs list, and then your Copilot is going to do the rest. It will go and figure out how to get that information from the end user. That means your topics can become much more efficient, Because now, instead of having to have all of the question nodes built into my topic, I can just, in this case, have a single node that's going to play the results back to the user. It really is pretty incredible because I can now get that auto-generated conversation to gather the information, but then I can still do anything I want with it in my authoring canvas, whether I'm manipulating it with Power Effects, calling an API, calling a connector, I can do anything I want. So let's go ahead and just see what that looks like. So here I can say I need to report a transaction I don't recognize. And again, for topics, you can now provide a description, like you can see I have done here on the screen, and it's going to then search across all of your topics and actions using GPT and identify the best one or more of them to answer my question. So let's go ahead and open up the conversation map again, and I can actually turn that now on by default. So as soon as I start testing, it will show. You can see here it's picked the right topic, but it's now identified that there's 3 missing pieces of information. So the first question it's asked me, and this is fully generated, is what's the date of the unrecognized transaction that you would like to create a case for? I can say it was yesterday. It's then going to go on and sort of fill that in. So it's correctly determined that yesterday was the 21st of May. It's now said that the amount of the transaction, what is it? So here, though, I can say, oh, sorry, it was actually the day before yesterday. If I could type, it was for £50. So here, I've done something that was entirely impossible until very, very recently. I've been able to actually correct myself and answer the question that the Copilot was asking me all in one go. That's something that you've just never been able to do, and now it's available to you right out of the box. And then finally, it asks me what was the name of the company, so I'll say it was a ShopMart, and that's it. All of the information's been gathered, and it just executes that single node in my topic. This is truly transformational for topic building inside of Copilot Studio when you want to have that additional control over how your conversation flows. All right, so I could now, I've added my topics, I've added my actions, and it's now super simple for me to head back over to my overview page. And one thing I did want to call out, hopefully you saw earlier, that when it was replying to me with dates and it was replying to me with currencies, it was respecting those instructions. The instructions that you're specifying at the beginning during creation or you're iterating on later actually have an impact on all of the content that's generated by your Copilot. And you can update them anytime to tweak them for your particular use case. All right, I think now I'm good to go. So I'm going to go over to our Publish tab.
Before you publish,
yeah.
Was there an update you wanted to talk about for the additional data sources you're able to?
Yes, you're absolutely right. So
I know.
Yeah. So, okay, so very quickly before I hand back, because we do not have a lot of time left, on every single action, every single input on every single action that is inside of your Copilot, you also now have a set of additional settings. And these settings also give you that extra level of control. So we said before that sliding scale, fully authored or fully generated, is not something that you should be asked to choose between. So even when you're using the generated conversation and we're generating questions from the Copilot, you can say, you know what? I like the way that you're executing this action, but I want to override the question for this one particular input. Or I want to add a validation rule for this one particular question. You have as much control now with the generative-driven conversation as you have ever had with question authoring within Copilot Studio. So that's pretty awesome. So I could go ahead and publish now, but I think we're going to go back over to Kendra, and we're going to talk about what we would do next right after publishing.
We're on me? Okay. Real quick, I do want to highlight a feature that is coming soon to preview before we kind of take the next step. We do have the ability to now add files which have visually rich information, right? So we know that when you're uploading files, it's not all just text space. We know that there are tables and charts and graphs And I want to make sure I'm in the right place. And so I think some of you maybe saw this in the, oh, here we go. Sorry about that. I think some of you also saw in 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗸𝗻𝗀𝗀 session yesterday where we were using these files to be able to answer information about vacation days, and that this file is a super visually rich file that has a lot of tables, a lot of graphs, a lot of information. And so now, once the Copilot is done processing and uploading the file, I could go ahead and ask questions against this. And I think what might be a really good idea is to just quickly recap, because we just showed you so many features there in a really rapid amount of time. Let's go ahead and quickly recap everything that we just talked through before we switch into the publish, analyze, and improve section. So first and foremost is the ability to build conversationally using natural language to go ahead and build your Copilot. We're introducing templates in Copilot Studio so that you can very quickly and easily get started. We are also adding additional knowledge sources. So before, where it was just websites, SharePoints, and files, we are adding a number of different knowledge sources, including Dataverse and some of the other graph connectors. We are also, and this is what I was just speaking about, introducing the ability to use documents that have visually rich information, whether it's tables, files, charts, pictures. We'll use GPT-4V to utilize the visual content within the file, as well as crawl the textual components of the page as well. And then we talked about some of the action enhancements. I don't know that we actually announced this, but we are officially moving to GPT-4, or have moved to GPT-4, which has resulted in a dramatic improvement in the behavior and accuracy. We recognize, though, that GPT-4 is a bit slow and there's some pretty big latency, and so we are working rapidly to get to GPT-4o as quickly as possible, which will fix this. We have expanded actions in topics, which is what he just showed you, which enables makers to have that hybrid support, hybrid solution, and take advantage of that large language model-driven slot filling capabilities. Okay, so now we're going to go over to analytics and start talking about the next page, or the next updates. So while this is loading, one of the things that we talked about, and again, I think we highlighted this in Omar's session, so if you were there, it's a bit repetitive, but we're gonna go a lot deeper here. So within our analytics, traditionally, when it loads, you're gonna see what was kind of our classic analytics, right? You could see where escalation happens. You could generally see if there was a positive or negative CSAT dissatisfaction happening, etc. You could see how many sessions were happening and whatnot. And now we've introduced 2 additional pages within our analytics page. The first one is the customer satisfaction page, which is super powerful because it takes the top themes of the conversations that are happening within your Copilot, and it actually, pause, we have a number of different Copilots where data has been loaded. Bear with me, thank you folks. Let me get back over to the right Copilot. So the Copilot here is essentially the scenario is it's an HR Copilot. And we are looking again at the traditional analytics where escalations were happening, the session count, etc. And then when we load the customer satisfaction page, getting back to what I was saying before, it actually generates common themes of user queries that are getting asked. And you can actually drill into these themes and understand, okay, for the top themes where there was like 100% dissatisfaction, what was causing this, right? So 24 dissatisfied sessions, 21% of the sessions had high rephrase rates, and 100% escalated to agents. So this is a good indication that, maybe there's not a good topic in here to talk about the leave policy, or even better, maybe I need to update this Copilot with additional knowledge about the updated leave policy so that Copilot can use that information to answer these questions. You're able to see the breakdown of customer satisfaction, and you're able to see kind of the average score as well as what the response rate was. Now, drilling a little bit deeper into the actual session health, this is a huge advancement and something a lot of you have been asking for as far as how are your data sources doing when it comes to generating answers off of them, right? So now within this page, you can see how many answers were not generated based on information, or they couldn't find the information in the knowledge that you had given it. Again, they break it into themes, so you can instantly see, okay, in these themes, the generative answers capability is not able to find information, so I should really invest here and identify data or knowledge that can directly address this. And then last but not least, which is also super powerful, you get full visibility into whether harmful content is being returned, whether there's prompt injection that's happening, or if there are any responses given from ungrounded content. So this gives you, again, full visibility and full control into the data sources that you are using for this capability.
Awesome.
And I believe...
So let's just touch, let's switch back over to the slides.
Okay.
And we've just got a couple of minutes left, but I think it's probably important just to touch on a couple of the security and compliance updates that we've made.
Absolutely. Okay, awesome. So we have heavily invested in security, right? So I think I said in the beginning how important it is to not only drive for innovation, but also make sure we're doing this in a very safe, compliant, secure way. So we're announcing 5 big security features. So we are now providing safer defaults, or applying safer defaults out of the box in Copilot Studio. A great example of this is when you create a Copilot, the default now is that it requires authentication. And then building off of this, apologies, we're gonna stay on this slide. When makers change these defaults, we actually alert you right in the product, like, hey, you might be at a security risk by no longer requiring authentication, right? So before, when these changes of defaults were made, there was no visual indication for anyone collaborating on this Copilot to understand how this was potentially creating a security risk. We've also provided more granular controls for admins so that, let's say that you don't want to completely turn off all the generative AI features, but it maybe doesn't make sense to your organization to use X, Y, or Z. You have more granular controls now to turn one off and still gain the benefits from some of the others. And within Copilots, end users and makers can now have authenticated opportunities, right? So prior, when you would add a Power Automate flow, it would always be set to maker authentication. Now you have the ability to decide, do you want this to be set on maker authentication or the user's authentication? And this is critical. Custom Copilots will now be able to perform actions in either the maker or the end user authenticated context, which, these are powered by thousands of pre-built Power Platform connectors. And this is going to kind of set the stage for some of the agents announcements that we talked about, right? With this C2 authentication, we truly can enable that ability for your Copilot to take action on behalf of your user and ensure that that user is authenticated. So the actions that are being taken and triggered are appropriate for the permissions, for the security levels, et cetera, of that user. We provide really robust audit logs now. I'm trying to go fast, I so apologize. I know we are out of time, but these audit logs really give your admin full visibility into the hygiene of your tenant. You know, how many Copilots are being used, how many DLP violations are happening, how many inactive Copilots are there, right? And we've heard your feedback. I just want to say that maybe the admin isn't the right persona to only have visibility here, right? And it might need to come in other parts of the organization, other team members. So we hear that feedback and we are working on figuring out where is the right level to have these audit logs show up. And then we are not going to play the demo. And then last but not least, I think this is super important. So where answers are grounded in SharePoint, we respect the same security trimming that SharePoint does and only returns the information or answers that you yourself as the user have permissions to see, right? So a lot of times there's concerns about, you know, if it's pointed to a SharePoint, are all the users going to be able to see the information? And out of the box, this already exists. So whatever permissions and security you have within that SharePoint is going to transfer through into Copilot Studio so that you're not seeing information that you don't have access to, which will really prevent data leaks.
So
here I have a...
I think that we're obviously out of time. As you can see, we've been working on a lot. The team have been working incredibly hard to bring all of this to you. We definitely encourage you to hang around afterwards and ask some questions if you've got them. We're here and we've got a lot of our team here as well. It's been fantastic to be able to present some of these updates to you, and there's definitely more to share. So please keep an eye out for more announcements coming very, very soon. We'd just like to thank you very much for your time today and have a great build.
Thank you.